I'm late, sir.
A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are back with yet another exciting session on Management Accounting Insights, the new era of banking through systems and its imminent impact. Ladies and gentlemen, we have with us today C.S. Ravi, who is the chairman, Tourism Finance Corporation of India, has been practically on all boards of banks, was a part of IDBI Bank, was on the board audit committee, chairman on the board of Punjab Sindh Bank, on the board of Corporation Bank, on the board of Union Bank, and he was the chairman of Bombay Stock Exchange, a number of such areas. He's on number of boards, which the detailed biodata shall be read by Mr. Minal Garg. I also have with me a very enterprising chartered accountant, CA Kuntal P. Shah, who's very keen to ensure that the profession reaches unprecedented heights. I have with me CA Shashank Agarwal, the chairman of Bahadurgarh branch, and CA Pushpak Singhal, the secretary of Bahadurgarh branch. I also have with me a young aspiring chartered accountant, CA Mirnal Garg, who belongs to Yamunanagar and who shall be master of the ceremonies of today's session. Over to Mr. Garg for his working. Mr. Garg, the dice is all yours now.
कर लिया मैंने सर कर लिया.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Namaskar, Sat Sri Akal, Walaikum Salam. Very good evening to all. I, CM Mrinal Garg, welcome you all to this wonderful virtual CPE meeting on Management Accounting Insight, the new era of banking through system and its impact, being organized by Committee on Management Accounting of ICI, hosted by Bahadurgarh branch of NIRC of ICI. This evening, it is our great pleasure to have a great vision and a dynamic personality.
सर कर लिया मैंने ज्वाइन कर लिया सर ज्वाइन.
The chairman of
वीडियो नहीं आ रही.
ICI, CA Charanjot Singh Nanda ji with us. Friends, let me tell you, Nanda sir is working tirelessly, even during the pandemic also, just to make his brigade more and more knowledgeable and updated, so that we professionals can face any challenges and grab good opportunities. I also welcome our eminent speaker for this session, CA S. Raviji and CA Kuntal P. Shah. Before starting our session for the evening, I would like to invite CA Shashank Agarwal ji, Chairman Bahadurgarh branch of NIRC of ICI, for welcome address and introduction of CA Charanjot Singh Nanda ji, Chairman Committee of Management Accounting. Over to you, Shashank ji.
Shashank, please unmute yourself. Unmute करें.
Over to you.
Thank you. Thank you. Am I audible, sir?
Yes, yes.
Very much.
Thank you,
Please
Mrinal
carry.
Garg ji. Good evening, friends. I welcome all of you for a virtual meeting on the topic of Management Accounting Insight, new era of banking through system and its impact, organized by Committee on Management Accounting of ICI and hosted by Bahadurgarh branch of NIRC of ICI. Now I formally introduce our favorite and dynamic Central Council member, CA Charanjit Singh Nanda ji. Nanda ji is serving as a chartered accountant from last 3 decades. His academic record is excellent since schooling, and he is a merit holder across graduation, and he is a position holder in chartered accountancy course. He is so much popular among members, and his networking among members are very, very great. He hold the Central Council member seat for the 5 terms from 2004 to 2016 consequently, and thereafter from 2019 to till 2022. He remains chairman and vice chairman of various committees and some subcommittees of the Institute of the Chartered Accountants of India, and presently chairman of Internal Audit Standards Boards of ICAI and chairman of Committee on Management Accounting of ICAI and vice chairman of Continuing Professional Education Committee of ICAI. He also authored professional book on the topic of a practical guide on audit documentation for statutory bank branch audit. Wonderful speaker on the topic of motivation and investment through capital market and various other subjects. I never miss any opportunity to listen him on the above topics. In a nutshell, He is a complete professional and give his full contribution to the welfare of the members always. He pick up call anytime from morning to the evening. He is very available to members always. Thanks, sir. Thanks a lot. Yeah, now back to CA Mrinal Garg ji. Thanks, sir.
Over to you, Nanda sir.
Thank you, Manalji. I would request all to kindly put your systems on mute as the voice will not then echo. So, very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The Honorable Chief Guest and Keynote Speaker of the day, C.S. Ravi, the faculty of the day, C.A. Kuntal P. Shah, the Chairman of Bahadurgarh Branch, Secretary of Bahadurgarh Branch, Minal Garg, and all participants. Let me tell you, today is one of the very hit programs. We have close to 3,000 participants who have tuned you. So, you are being watched by 3,000 CAs all across the country. And that number may have grown. It may be close to 3,500, although I am giving you a data of 2 hours back. So, ladies and gentlemen, today is a time of pandemic. And this time has brought so much justice for us. But at the same time, it has given one great boom. We can be with our parents, our spouse, our children, our pets. 15th May was International Family Day. And we have to understand that the best thing in our life is our family. I'm reminded of a small couplet which says this is for people who leave their families and go out, venture out. The couplet says, जरा सी पाने की चाहत में बहुत कुछ छूट जाता है. जरा सी पाने की चाहत में बहुत कुछ छूट जाता है. नदी का साथ देता हूं तो समुंदर रूठ जाता है. हमारी फैमिली समुंदर है. हर छोटी चीज से बेहतर है अपने फैमिली को सपोर्ट करना. बिकॉज इफ यू अल्टीमेटली गो एंड live time, spend time with their family, you emerge out more stronger and with great immunity. The topic of today is a very contemporary and very nice topic. The topic says how the new era of banking creates value through the systems and its impact. So you all are aware that the banking is undergoing a technological churn right now due to rising competition from financial technology setups. The FinSet setups are now startups are now trying to compete with the well-established banks. The reason is twofold. Number one, the changing customer expectations, and number two, the improved technological capabilities. The startups are more technologically conversant and aware than the banks. The rising competition from startups that use technology to create unique experience around banking and other financial services has largely forced the banks to respond by innovating themselves. The banks have also geared up to give their best. Further, the threat of cyber security breaches has meant that the banks have to be more agile and more importantly, what they were even before, because now the system has become airtight and working has to be very close and contemporary. Now the question arises why there is a need for innovation in banking system. For long, banks have been reluctant to update their systems. But what happened? This resulted in isolation of systems being used for transactions, savings, investment and loan accounts. This is not suited to the digital age when the competition for banks is coming from technology-based technical FinUps. The banks and other traditional financial service providers have to respond with an array of digitization and innovative initiatives. And therefore, these initiatives employ cutting-edge technologies to ensure a customer-centric perspective rather than the traditional focus on products, real-time intelligent data integration rather than snow analysis being performed after the fact and open platform foundation. Now, what are the few innovative technologies in banking that are shaping the future of banking and financial services to give rise to the new era of banking? I'll discuss some of them. The first is augmented reality. Yes, immersive technologies such as augmented virtual, and mixed reality are enhancing customers' experience across the board. You can always give good services to a customer, but you can't withdraw them. You have to keep yourself improvising in all times. The real end state is to give customers complete autonomy in action and transactions they could perform at home. And today, people sit at home, they want to make payments while even in their car. So these things have a larger impetus. Blockchain, it allows multiple parties to access the same data simultaneously to different nodes, and at the same time ensures the integrity and immutability of the records entered in the database. So safety coupled with a larger database navigating into well secure areas. The third is robotic process automation, which we call RBA. Now, what are these robotic process automations? These technologies consist of machine learning, natural language processing, chatbots, robotic process automation, and intelligent analytics in banking that allow the bots to learn and improve. By using bots in banks, things have changed very fast, and the costs have come down, and errors have been reduced to zero. Quantum computing. Quantum computing is a way of using quantum machines to work out complex data operations. As a common knowledge today, computer use bits that can have only two values, 1 and 0. Quantum computing uses quantum bits. This unlocks exponential computing power over traditional computing when the right algorithm is used. The next is AI, artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence allows banks to use the large histories of data that they capture to make better decisions across various functions, including back office operations, customer experience, marketing, product delivery, risk management, and compliance. And importantly, the exception reporting is also analyzed by artificial intelligence. API platforms. The API platforms is designed to work through APIs that sit between the bank's back-end execution and front-end experiences provided by the bank itself or by the third-party partners. The next is prescriptive security. Yes, security is very important, and the nature of cyber risk changes at a great speed. You have to identify the risk, mitigate the risk, and ensure that it does not reoccur. And if it reoccurs, you are there to mitigate it. Increasingly, banks are deploying advanced analytic, real-time monitoring, and artificial intelligence to detect threats and stop them from disrupting the systems. I want to put across that the use of big data analytics techniques to get an earlier visibility of threats and acting to stop them before they happen is called prescriptive security. A prescription is written so that a thing does not occur. And the last is hybrid cloud. One of the biggest challenges that the digital age has brought to banking is the need to respond quickly. Immediate response, payment anytime. This is very important. This constantly evolved markets that banks operate is required them to work and be as agile as possible. Hybrid clouds enables bank to provide resources across the enterprise in a timely manner to address business problems faster. Then there are issues of instant payments. Very, very important. You have to give instant payments. You need to have smart machines to work up to that tandem. You also need to work in tandem and ensure that proper validation is provided to the management. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have two of the very learned speakers of the day, the chief guest, Mr. S. Ravi, and the speaker of the day, CA Kuntal Pisha, who would very candidly, in a very simple way, dissect the issues and bring before you in a platter where you can go home more enlightened after understanding all the things. So, not standing between you and the learned speakers, I give the dais back to Mr. Mineral for the further proceedings. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Sir, your energy level and the areas highlighted for the technological banking system has set the pitch for the entire session. Sir, under your able leadership, we are ensured that the objective of the committee to provide guidance to members in focusing and consolidating their efforts on a rapidly evolving areas of practice where capacities to both understand and contribute to change are important. Outcomes of learning process will definitely be achieved. Once again, I say thank you. For today's meeting, we have a special address by our first speaker, CA S. Ravi, Ji, Chairman and Director, Tourism Finance Corporation of India Limited. Sir is the Chairman and the Director of Tourism Finance Corporation of India Limited. He also serves on the boards of Aditya Birla Health Insurance Company Limited, Star Union, Dai Aichi Life Insurance Company Limited, Aditya Birla ARC Limited, IIFL Asset Management Limited, and SBI Payment Services Private Limited. He is also a practicing chartered accountant. He has also served as the chairman of BSC Limited and chairman and director of UTI Trustee Company Private Limited. He has also served on the boards of over 40 prestigious institutions, including insurance companies, a number of public sector banks, and public sector enterprises like UCO Bank, Union Bank, Hindustan Aeronautics Limited, BHAL, SBI, SG Global Securities Services Private Limited, to name a few. Also, he was appointed by the Government of India and RBI as the chairman of the Technical Experts Committee for Punjab and Sindh Bank's strategic turnaround. Mr. Raviji was nominated as the member of the SEBI Takeover Panel and SEBI Mutual Fund Advisory Committee. IRDA has also nominated Mr. Raviji as a member of their Insurance Advisory Committee. Mr. Raviji is a member of Business World's jury for Festival of FinTech 2021 and was ICI's member of jury for Award for Excellence in Financial Reporting for the year 2012-13. Sir, it is our great pleasure to have a ocean of knowledge with us today for this very session. Sir, I hope you will guide us all on the new era of banking system and its impact, why technology is important for banking, its impact of technology, role of technology in banking, and much more. I once again welcome CAS Ravi sir for this very session. Over to you, sir.
So, thank you so much for inviting me. It's a privilege to be associated. I thank Nandaji for, we have a very old and long relationship, and I consider him as described by Shashank, always available to every person whenever they need, and that's a great quality one really can learn from Nanda Sahab, is that he's available to all the members at any given point of time, and that's the quality which actually he's anywhere banking, he's an anywhere member. So I can so between anywhere banking and if you are, since we're talking banking and technology, here is a human skill which is available anywhere. So that's a great quality. I also greet Mr. Shah, who is to speak after me, and for Mr. Shashank Agrawal Mrinal and also Pushpak Singalji, all for being a part of this journey. Now, let me start with where we started, just to give a perspective. In 1995-97, the computers had come in, and there was a strike in one of the banks saying computerization will replace human being. Then we saw in 2000, we thought the computers get in, everyone got in, and 2002 till 2002 there were ATMs, standalone ATMs attached to the branch. Then we saw that these branches, there was an off-site ATM which was available to the customer anywhere. Then later, these ATMs became, because ATMs were specific to banks, then the interusability or interoperability between banks became this thing, and you could use ATM from anywhere. I can have an account in X bank and use Y bank from my account. So that was the change that we saw in that era. Then we came to something called as anywhere banking, which I did mention right now. Anywhere banking means you can take out your money anywhere. You can access your account from anywhere, and that was the next step. And we got into the Finacle platform of the banking, which is great again. And of course, we have many versions of Finacle, but that was to start with. That was the version. Then what we saw after that, we saw financial inclusion. And see, by the way, we have 1,25,000 approximate branches and outlets across the country, which is not small. And to connect all of them is not easy. And one thing which Nanda Saab stated, and which I must say, he said that the public sector banks, the private sector banks were quick to catch on. Yes, but the public sector banks had deep pockets in the rural segment, and there the financial literacy was very poor. I have an account, but I give your PIN code to you. What is the point? So the financial literacy had to come in before actually spreading across to the rural segment. And the public sector banks did a great service in serving the rural part, and cooperative banks did a big part. Then we saw something that is after anywhere banking, the mobile banking, where of course you from your mobile you can bank. Then we saw which was a very big development is the support in terms of application. Now you have an app of SBI, you have an app of everybody. Every bank has its own app in which all the facilities are available to us. I can go for wealth management, I can do a card business, I can do everything. So that means data collection has played a very big role. Without integration of data and data warehousing, we would not have come this distance. Now from mobile banking, where do we go? We go to the payment structure. RBI provides us a payment structure where I can transact business sitting from here to anywhere in the country. Previously, we used to wait for checks to come, and that is if you just go back 10 years or 15 years ago, many of you are very young. I have seen the time when I used to wait for a check, wait for that speed post guy to give me a check, and we will wait. He doesn't come, we will get disappointed. So from that era today, all we have to look at as our phone and see whether the credit has come in or not. So this is the transformation that has happened. And this transformation would not have happened if we were not progressive. We were very progressive. And believe it, in financial inclusion, we have 538 million accounts. And to integrate them and see the COVID-19 situation, we could transfer money even before this Manrega scheme. We could transfer money. And last year during COVID time, we could transfer so much of money to people, under various Atmanirbhar schemes and other relief that the government gave, just because we had the technology in place. So if you look at the 20 years journey and look at the 50 years journey before that, what the speed of change that has happened in the last 10 years outbeats the last 100 years of change that the banking system has seen. And that is the speed in which the banking system has really developed. And why I am giving this perspective is we are going to see very fast changes. Nanda Saab mentioned about fintech companies. The fintech companies are a competition. But where are they a competition? They are a competition in terms of technology, and also because they have a low customer base. Now let us look at the transformation SBI has done. The app called YONO. And you will see, if you just look at the journey, how much has gone into YONO to make it today, a very competitive. Plus, you can take the load, and also the services are excellent. So there is a very healthy competition between the fintech companies and the banking system as far as technology is concerned. So that is what I would say has been the change. Now, how do we look further? But before that, I would like to tell, since this is the institute, auditors have done a phenomenal job last year when we were having multiple mergers. And believe it, 15 days delay only, we could sign all of the auditors, including branch to everybody, signed up. Why was it possible? Because everybody got into a situation and tried to resolve the issues, tried to cooperate with the issues, and move forward, use the technology. Remote auditing came into place. So banks, only we talk of banks? No. The systems and the people around, the statutory auditors, the concurrent auditors, and the ecosystem that is involved around the banks have played a very, very vital role in making the banks technologically stronger. And that is a point. And today also, see, merging a bank on a remote basis is such a big challenge. Right from documentation to taking snapshots to taking secure transmission protocols, which, because the data is a big security, is a big challenge. All that has happened because the auditors had also been equipped reasonably, and the banks were, of course, had a technology, and the auditors are also, sort of competent to take it forward. So the whole ecosystem, it's not, one cannot take one aspect into in only one aspect. It has to be taken in a wholesome. And I feel that the whole change has happened in a very, very nice manner. Now, how do we look at the future? Nanda Sahab has given all the details, robotics, machine learning, every aspect he has covered. And I'm just augmenting to what he said. The cost of technology and the change that is happening is going to be ferociously fast. Like I said, 100 years and 10 years. The fast speed was, and you will see in 2 years, it will outbeat the last 10 years. Let me tell you this. Because we are doing everything remotely now. And the speed in which we are going, it is going to be faster. Now, let us look at a new concept, which I want to throw it to everybody. Something called as a neobank. And neobank is a bank which is just like a fintech company, but it goes in, it is a licensed player, but it tags along and goes along with a big bank, just increasing the reach of the existing bank. So the collaboration in technology is going to be the future. Let me tell you, because the cost of technology is going to be very high, and the collaboration is going to be very, 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 very high. And new banks are going to be positioned in between fintech companies and the big banks, which are large banks. Now, there is one question that needs to be addressed in this technology. We have seen the crisis of Yes Bank. We saw the PMC Bank. Everybody wants their deposits, their money to be safe in a bank. And what can anything do but the management give safety through capital adequacy and good governance? So technology is one aspect, but coupled with governance, coupled with their capital adequacy, and coupled with the size, is going to be the next future of banking. Because small standalone banks won't have the ability to raise money. Like we saw in the Lakshmi Vilas Bank case, means it got into a DBS because they could not raise capital. So collaboration, technological collaboration, my cost of invention to technological collaboration is going to be the future of banking. Now, another aspect which I want to bring to everybody. Apart from this, the one factor that is going to play a big role is data analytics. Now, data analytics, suppose I have 500 rupees or 5,000 rupees in my account. My person manning my account will tell, you can put this in insurance, you can put this in pension, you can put it in FD, or you can put it in wealth management. How is it possible? Because in future banks have integrated and there is a distribution of insurance by the banks. So banks, insurance, pension, capital market and banks will all be working together in a harmonious manner, and integrated financial services is going to be the next level which we are going to see, backed by good technology. One more point that I want to bring to you before I give it to a person who is very experienced, Mr. Shah, I would like to say one more thing. And that's a very relevant thing. Today, everything we can do, but we cannot sacrifice one thing, and that is your data privacy, data protection. We are still far away from securing our data. Let me tell you, if you go across, see the number of frauds that have happened right across the globe. As 70, and people have their accounts being wiped out continuously. So the next level of challenge is data security, data protection, and data management. There are tons and tons of data that is available with us. RBI says 10 years of records. Income tax has 8 or 10, whatever it is. And then insurance is 8 years or 10 years rather. So all this data needs to be categorized. What is relevant to you today? So data management, data warehousing, data management, along with data usage, data protection, and how are you going to leverage your technology with all this is going to be the future. And because each one of us is going to the bank, putting the money, thinking that our money is safe. But one more thing, the human aspect. Do we have the literacy of not sharing our PIN codes or our codes or passwords? I think we will have to, the investor or the depositor or the people who are banking must also upgrade the human skills and the human protection in order to give a safety across the system. So my take is technology is going to really drive the next level of change in the banking system. Let it be for auditors, let it be for the management, and let it be for everybody. But the integration is going to be the next level, and we will see the Indian banking system is going to be robust in the next 4 or 5 years, and the competition, the good and the people who are big will survive. Small people who can latch on to somebody and collaborate will survive. Otherwise, you will see many fintech companies just disappearing because the ability to raise capital is not there. So we are going into the next level where we are going to see a shake up and a shakedown, as they would say, in the banking era. Thank you so much for calling me. Maybe I have given a very different perspective, but one thing that I always tell everybody, and that is what even I did as BSc chairman, that financial literacy, we opened financial literacy across every place so that people know the do's and don'ts of anything that they are doing, because finally it is the human and the technology which will work together to make a better future. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Scar, for a very scintillating and mind-boggling presentation, sir. You very aptly brought out the points and made it easy for Mr. Shah to discuss everything. Now he has a well-deserved and well ordained field on which he can transfer greener pastures for him to move along. Thank you, Ravi, and welcome, Kuntalji. But before that, Mr. Minal Garg will do the formalities. Thank you.
Ravi sir, as you told that Government of India is able to stand with various sections of the society during this pandemic also is because of the reforms in this banking system. And your emphasis on the future is of collaborations. As rightly told, one need to secure data with the technological advancements and increasing awareness. And hopefully, the financial literacy shall be increased. Now I welcome our second speaker, CA Kuntal P. Shahji. He is a practicing chartered accountant in the field of audit, income tax, GST, FEMA, and company law. He has done diploma in computer programming, secured A+ grade in diploma in computer programming of CDAC. He is also a part of the panel of authors for guidance note on audit of banks for the year 2021, 2020, 2019, 2017. Editions by Auditing and Assurance Standard Boards of ICI. He is also a co-author of Manual on Concurrent Audit of Banks published by the Internal Audit Standards Board of ICI. He has also written comprehensive chapter on core banking system. Sir is the author of Early Warning Signals of Fraud through Credit Weakness published by Committee on Information Technology of ICI. He is also author of Review of Demonetization Activity by Chartered Accountants in Bank published by the Internal Audit Standard Boards of ICI. He has also written various articles on audit of foreign exchange transaction in statutory bank branch audit published by ERC, EIRC in 2015-16 and by WIRC in the year 2013-14 and 14-15. Sir, it is a great privilege to welcome you. Now the entire dice is yours. I would request you to take the session.
Thanks a lot, Mrinalji. Thanks a lot, Nandaji and Raviji. You actually made this entire session very easier for me because you both had given an excellent glide path to me so that I can land and safely land actually. Otherwise, I was thinking that how to make this too technical subject to be kept in a very low profile manner so that all the members can also understand and they can also make plan of that how they can work on to with these advancements. I'll share my screen for presentation. Good evening to everyone. It is indeed a pleasure to be associated with the program by ICI. When Nandaji called me up a few days back, we did discuss that we wanted to have something on the banking side where there is a lot of technological advancements are happening, and can we have it in some plain or a very simple language so that it won't be in a too technical term, but it will be very digestible one and members can also learn from that and they can prepare themselves for the next change that is very near future. So with that we decided to have a session on this one, that new era of banking through systems and its impact. Few disclaimers. Okay, so basically I'll be discussing only on three parts. I won't be keeping it that lengthy in my presentation. I'll be discussing on to evolution of banking sector and technology, future of banking sector, and very important one for us, the auditors, that is internal control and monitoring, security aspects and auditing aspects. So with that, let's start with the evolution side first. What was there in past, present, and what we can expect in future. As we all are aware, the banks when started with the manual records, that was a time when banks had just started and people had to go to the branch for the transaction. It used to take some time because there used to be a manual updation. At the same point of time, the number of transactions were also very less. But along with that, the requirement of number of employees were also in high number, because the transactions were recorded into a manual mode. Then there used to be a review, checking, auditing, and lot of things were happening into that particular setup. Then came late 90s. We had started with early 90s, and then stabilized into the late 90s. That is the total branch automation. When the computerization has come to the banking side, it was in a mode of computerization in a particular branch, and then we moved on to the core banking solution that is there in at present. It gave us an excellent opportunity to connect to the bank through various channels. Right, so now we have multi-channel available. We can connect to the bank without even going to the branch. There are a lot of members, a lot of people who are there who might not have seen their branch as well. They are still communicating, or they are carrying out their transactions through those different channels. The most updated part, Raviji has said that electronic fund transfer, right? It has actually changed the entire scenario into transactions into the banking side. Electronic fund transfer via any mode. After demonetization, we had seen this UPI transfers. Earlier, there used to be ECS, then it started the RTGS, NEFT, now UPI. Now, you have seen a lot of advertisements as well. Even at the coconut water seller is also having an QR code when you can scan and you can just pay even before a tow one comes up, right? So that's the speed of transaction, right? You have seen the issues at the toll plazas, and now have been integrated at FASTag. Yes, there are some glitches at some point of time, but barring that, now it's very seamless process. So immediately, no need to give cash, then take it return. You need to count it at all point of time. So there are no issues at all. You can simply zip through the lanes. That is how that's entire thing is connected to the systems. And what's there in future? That's very interesting. A lot of things Nandaji and Raviji has said and briefed about fintech companies and the players. Then artificial intelligence driven activities and the processes would be there. Open banking, neo banking, banking as services, robotics would be there. Blockchain is there. So what I'll be doing is I'll keep this entire present in that way that whenever we discuss about certain thing, we'll discuss the application side of that as well. So where can we expect, or where the banks are actually using it, or where the bank can potentially use that, right? So that we can better understand the technology, the logic behind it, so that at the time of auditing, we can also understand which are the processes that have been deployed, and we can design our audit scope accordingly. So that's the first part is the manual banking, manual record keeping used to be there. Services to customer at base branch only. At that point of time, you had to take services from branch only. You cannot go to the other branch to get a service, though you are a customer of the bank at that point of time. It used to be a challenging one as well. There used to be a lot of requirement of resources in terms of employee, and the cost of transaction used to be very high at that point of time as well. So now one of the focus of the banks is to reduce the cost of the cost that they are incurring, or the transaction cost, or a transaction vis-a-vis the manpower requirement. So is it possible to augment certain thing to reduce the load from an human intervention, where there can be an issue of bias, or where the speed, the human may not be in a position to match the speed with that of system. At that point of time, it used to be a personal interaction and trust were the driver for the business growth. Nowadays, even I am even not aware of who is the branch manager at my branch where I am holding account. I have not seen him as well. So that's how the things are. It is not the one-on-one interaction, right? Now it is people are more moving towards more onto the banks which are providing good services through technological means, right? So they don't find it a hassle one, right? So now basically it is not on a personal interaction basis or this one, but that was the area of manual banking. Then came the total branch automation, where the branches were computerized. So computerization happened at each branch level on an independent basis. So the branches internally were not connected, but yes, branches were computerized. So that actually gave faster services, wider reach, and the number of customers they could add more, because the processing was faster. Customers started getting services on a very fast speed. The simple example, if we take an example of a passbook, right? Initially, it used to be. I know my grandfather used to give me the passbook to get it updated. When I used to go to this bank branch, they used to say that, sir, just give it to us and take it back at after 4 o'clock. I used to find that how come just to an update a simple passbook, how why there is so much of time that is required. But then I came to know that they used to get in bulk, and in times of this manual as well as to TBA, they also need to carry out the other transactions, and then they used to do this one. But nowadays, nobody is even asking for it, nobody is even seeking the passbook, right? Everyone is having now mobile, or this apps are there, or on a net banking, right? Or even you can request it through various other means as well now. So that's the entire change. Yes, that change took a lot of time. Fortunately, I am the person who have seen all these three: manual, TBA, and CBS, and probably I'll be in a position to see this future banking as well. Better output per employee could be achieved through TBA. Then there are some enhanced internal controls. Let's say there in a manual, you may have an issue with the computation, mathematical computation, or application of interest, and a lot of things, right? It actually gave a good internal control, as well as it also brought in certain other vulnerabilities as well. So any change that will come, you can't expect that you'll get everything on a very soothing way only. You will get some threats as well. We'll discuss that part in the later part of this presentation. This is the basic. I would say that the complete turnaround was there with the core banking solution, and the add-ons or the enhancement that has happened because of core banking solution. Now, let's understand first. We'll not discuss anything, let's say, about CBS right now, but understand why it is a game changer or for a country or financial system. See, when I get a data on a centralized mode, I am in a position to share it with the persons who are seeking, and I can get the transactions processed through that one. Now, I'll just give you an example. You all are aware with the taxi aggregators, Uber, Ola, right? And there are plenty. Now, what happens is they don't own any car, right? But what happens is they have a platform. So it may so happen that just on a 50-meter distance, you'll have 3 taxis, but you are not aware of that this is the taxi that I am looking for, or the person who will go to the desired place where I actually wanted to go, right? But these aggregators made all the taxi drivers to connect to the system and users to connect to the system. So you have a centralized thing available whereby one is ready to part with services and one is seeking services, and you matched it, right? This is the plain example. Now come on to the banking side. Now you have a centralized database. Everyone, that is all the branches, all the channels, everything is now connected onto the system. Now what happens is, the best thing is that you get a real-time data sharing, right? That's the best thing that you can have. Now with this kind of thing, enhancements, upgradations, a lot of things have happened onto CBS, right? And kudos to the bank employees and the auditors, internal auditors, and the technology partners. They have worked phenomenally well, right? And still they are working on to this part. Then what happens is that CBS actually provided access to multiple channels. That is through ADMs, point of sale machines, internet, phone, apps. Now even in social media as well, that the banking is there, right? So the thing is that you have now the complete banking into your hand, right? And what will happen? Let's say a lot of people used to, before demonetization or before this Jan Dhan account opening. That fair enough. Banking is for elite class only, not for the lower strata of people or person who is having a very small or merage amount of income. Right. So the point is that, see, I may be using it, but I am paying it to someone. But if that person is not having account, then I am also forced to go or to carry out transaction outside banking network. But now what has happened is the entire lower strata or the majority of the lower strata is having a banking or an this access to the banking either through payment banks or through the full-fledged banks. So now that has given an entire ecosystem to flourish into the technology part, right? So what happens if you just scan it across, right? Even a small shop, small cart or vegetable sellers are also having that, right? So now everyone is working onto that, and coupled with that you get some benefit as well from the companies which are sharing, so that they can get a good number of customers onboarded onto their system, right? So few actually survive, few are not, or they are lagging behind, or they may shut the shop as well. So that's what the fittest will remain there, or the one who is having a good technological support as well as finance support, right? Improvement in customer service. Yeah, just imagine or just think it over past what was there in the customer service side and what's there in the CBS right now with the integration of system. It's phenomenal, right? Financial inclusion, that's the biggest thing that has happened, that is opening of Jan Dhan accounts or giving a bank account to the unbanked person, right? So that's possible only. I would always say that yes, the bankers, the bank employees are at the forefront, but that is possible only because of the technological support, right? Because if you have a technology or if you have a system which can withhold this kind of pressure or this kind of number of transactions, then only you can go beyond, right? So it is in sync that you have a technology and you have a manpower, dedicated manpower, and which has created an excellent output. Then came the Jam Trinity, that's the Jan Dhan, Aadhaar, and mobile, a deadly combination. Reason being, the Aadhaar portal is having an biometric uh, details of a particular customer. Now, what happens is that at any point of time, if I want to go and I want to establish that, yes, I am Kuntal Shah, right? Then at that point of time, I need to produce 2 or 3 identity card or a different kind of cards that we have, or some identity proof. Right. But what happens is if I go at some financial institution wherever it is prescribed, and if I just give my thumbprint on a system which is connected to directly to the Aadhaar portal, which gives me an alert, and if I approve it, right, then it will say that yes, this is the person, and they can get the data that is prescribed into their agreement with the this Aadhaar authority. Now that is going to create an entirely a new environment whereby you don't need certain set of things that you are having earlier. Now there are cardless payments as well. So even in the ATMs, when you go, you don't need a card, right? So now there are certain things that are happening that is beyond our imagination. We have seen recently, we have seen this after demonetization. Before that, we used to pay it through cash, and now you're using only UPI or this payment banks, right? Apps that is there for the payment banks. So that is what is possible because of the current technology. What's there in future? That's going to be an interesting one, and we'll be discussing few of the parts as well. Probably that will be an eye opener for a lot of us members as well, right? Because we might not have even thought of. So basically the banking is now moving from I would say that from finance to the psychology side, right? So human psychology, human tendency, right? So we'll discuss. There are various examples we'll discuss, and it will give you an completely a new flavor. Complete overall of banking sector is now driven by new technology. See, that's the major thing that has happened. I will not, as a banker, I am now focusing more on to the support or the technology driven services or a product that I can offer, instead of, that is the first priority used to be, they used to design a product or a service and they used to market. But first now they'll say that, no, I have. Now let's see this, the example of YONO, right, for SBI, right? They marketed YONO, but when they could market, because they had the technology with them, right? And that's how they could do it, because with having such a presence of branches with State Bank of India under their hold, and then also they are going with YONO, meaning there were, just imagine the manifold increase into the customer base, right? So that is overall is completely based on better customer service, enhancement of securities. So now you have multiple factor authorizations and a lot of things are happening into that. There are issues as well. It's not that everything which we'll be discussing is always on a positive note. There will be a few threats as well. Improvement in margins. See, the point is that when you have a setup, physical setup of the branches, and you want all the transactions to be processed at branches, that is going to be a costly affair. Right. So the per transaction cost at branch is way higher than the per transaction cost through other technological means. So even you may have faced this, that when you visit the bank employee would start educating you with respect to the other technological support available through which you can carry out. Right. Otherwise, you will find that why they are explaining me, sir, you download your app this way, and you can do it without even visiting. And we also find it suitable because we don't want to waste our time into this entire saga of going there, waiting for the number, and then getting your transaction or request processed. Then the launch of new and customized product and services. Now the product offering is customized one. Now understand this, there is an entirely a shift that is happening, that it may so happen that a product which is pitched to me might not be pitched to the other person. Right, understand this, and we'll discuss when we'll discuss on to data analytics, artificial intelligence, and certain aspects, and how the products are getting designed now. Right. Better risk management. You can keep risk into control with amount of transactions at lower amount of transaction, or other type of amount of transaction, or the certain validation aspects are there, and you can contain your risk into that thing. Then comes the quick sanctioning and removal of individual bias. Now, what will happen? See, I'll just give you an example. What will happen that you have a loan proposal available, you have a set parameters, you have seen 59 minutes loan. Right now, what is that system is all about? Now that system is all about wherein the banks, all the participating banks have given their criteria that we would like to verify the person from this perspective. Right now, they'll be feeding into this actual income tax information or a GST information and the projections. So the system will compute based on the applicable that which bank would be in a position to offer, and they'll connect the banker to the prospective customer. So what will happen is that if there is a small ticket loan, do you still want person that is at the branch or back office level to review this entire proposal, to carry out the entire set of process, entering the values, right, and then coming out with a risk number, and whether that is risk number is within this or not? If that is given to the computer will say that yes, you can get amount up to this one or loan up to this one. Now what are the parameters? One, the income tax, that's the basic one, the income shown into the income tax return. GST is one of the part. Now these are the traditional ones. Now based on your account transactions and the bifurcation of your account transactions, banks are now sending you messages, or whenever you are going to the branch or on an online banking, they say that you have a pre-approved loan. How come this loan got pre-approved? They assessed you. They actually carried out an analytics onto your set of transactions, which are the type of transactions that you are carrying out. See, understand that is a whole lot of world that is there into analyzing your entire set of transactions, right? Coupled with that, if see lot of people say that in social media, when you post anything or in free email accounts that you use, right? Then what happens in many of the time you go onto your inbox and you open an email, there will be an advertisement right side. There will be certain words used in an email. Based on those words, there will be an advertisement that is posted immediately right to this one. How? Because this machine is learning, machine is reading and posting you the targeted advertisement. That is, it is giving a more hit ratio in terms of service offering. That person will be inclined to go for this services in this scenario. So what happens now? Artificial intelligence and data analytics. First, understand where the significant work is going on right now. So first part is the data analytics. You have two aspects into analytics. One is that you use data analytics for reporting, and one is for predictive things. You have three. Genpact, I think, had given an excellent work. This process flow I will discuss into just next slide. You have a consumer behavior and marketing. You have a risk, fraud, and KYCML, and the product portfolio optimization. So now this is what I wanted to share. You have three main aspects that are working. That's where the data analytics are working right now. So the basically what you deal with is that you automate your reporting part. That is a descriptive one. At the same time, you predict, and that is what is very important. Based on certain set of transactions, certain set of information or combination, you predict something and you prescribe something, right? Let's take an example that you went to a bank or you got some message, right? That we would be giving you this a particular airline's co-branded credit card. Right. Now that credit card will give you a benefit of so and so free ticket in a year or something like that. When all this curated one. Now, just think it over why you have got this message. Might be that you are using a bank's credit card through which you are booking a lot of air tickets, or you are booking tickets for a particular airline company, or you have a bank account through which you are making a lot of payments, or you have a travel history through the bank. Now understand, see, this is a targeted one. You see, if you send to everyone this kind of message, then you don't get that much hit, right? But in this scenario, because you are in a particular segment wherein you are actually the user of this one, and hence you are getting this one, that is happening because of the data analytics and artificial intelligence deployed into the system, whereby you get certain kind of offering and certain kind of this things, right? So that's what is important one. And now we'll be discussing each one. We'll be having that where actually this data analytics systems are working right now or can work, right? So point by point we'll be discussing. First is the performance of employees. Now, I have set of employees working in this front end and the back end. Now, what happens is that you also need to analyze that whether your employee is working at the full capacity or what's the quality of work that the employee is having. Now, you have a barometer whereby you want to see that whether employee has processed or employee has carried out a transaction which is in a proper processes, or there are rejections as well. Right, or there are reworking required, or there are certain set of information which are missing that you again need to ask for. And that is only a wastage of time and resources, right? So what you can do is you can, in case of let's say credit, that whether credit assessment or even the onboarding of customer, whether all the processes were properly carried out or not. So what you can do is, and not only employee, you can see the person's working style on a group basis, on a geographical group basis, that whether all the geographic location is having the same, or how the person is performing within a group. Right, understand this. That gives you an excellent result into it. If there is an issue with a particular geographic location, then you can have a targeted training or certain aspects whereby you can improve upon those issues into that particular this one. If there is an issue with the employee, you can handle that person. Right, that is where the things are happening right now. Then comes straight through processes vis-a-vis manual processes. Now what happens is that system is now tracking those transactions which are happening on a repetitive mode, right? And or processes which are a repetitive nature, can it be posted through the straight through process? Right, now what happens that let's give, I'll give an example that on a monthly basis you are transferring some money, let's say from X account to Y account, right, through check or through internet banking, right? So the bank is tracking all this thing that on this during this period you are doing this activity, right? So bank would be saying that would you like to go into our standing instruction mode, whereby if you have a balance you can very well transfer this one, or you can disable the standing instruction before one day, that is 24 hours, right? Kind of offering, whereby the manual process or the transaction done through checks or the other modes can also be eliminated. The system will take care of that one. So that is what is happening when there is a proper analytics that are going on, right? Then comes tracking of customer spending and behavioral pattern. This is a very important one. See, what happens is that all the time we do certain transactions through bank, and now you get either through debit card or credit card or through this payment aggregators, right? Everything get posted into your this account statement. Now with that the system is understanding you on a behavioral pattern, that what is your behavioral pattern, what are your likings, what are your you can say that where you are spending more, whether you are spending more on lifestyle, travel, groceries, right, or some other transaction mode. So they are creating a bucket inside to put forth to you, and now they'll say that the either their product or the third party products, right, they'll try and sell it to you. So that's how this entire analytics is happening. I'll not name one of the company, but the companies recently they have invested a lot into the advertisement with all the big actors, the cricketers, and behaving in some weird manner, and they try and portray that we don't know why they are doing it, but our product or our service is so and so, that through us if you pay the credit card bills you'll get some points. That point you can make use as a reward point, and you can utilize it for some other discounts or some benefit that you will be getting. That is a loyalty point. Now what happens is, see, you will feel that I am just making payment of my credit card, right? Now if I make it in a normal mode I don't get anything. If I make the payment through their portal I'll get certain benefit. So why should I not go through that mode, right? But then if you think it from the company's perspective, why a company would give you additional benefit where only a payment process, that is paying your credit card bills from a normal bank account, right, can earn something, right? There is no earning potential into it. Then why the company is investing this much, and that's a huge budget that they have given into the advertisement and everything. Why they are doing it? They are now getting access to your entire credit card statements, your behavioral pattern, your time frame of payment, whether you are the one who is making payment on timely basis, or you still take a loan, or how you are making payment on a staggered manner, or on that is on an ad hoc manner, or in a bill to bill, right? Where you are spending, during which period you are spending onto which website or some other locations, right? And secondly, now the information is available on to everyone, that there are shopping festivals that are happening on an online, right? Now you can map that a person, and you can get the information with a very precise information that this person is interested in buying continuously during the shopping festival. So you now have a person targeted for this one, and you will be bombarded for that, and probably you will be inclined to take the services, even if probably you may not be in a position, you don't want that one, That is because this is entirely the behavioral pattern is getting punched into. Right. So please understand. Now I'll give you one more insight into it. What will happen is, let's say, how a person is being mapped, right? So you are making payment of electricity bill. Right. Now electricity bill tells you a lot about yourself. How you are living into your how you are living that entire bill, right? That is, you have a location available because in any case the billing company, that is the service provider, is available. So in this location, what is the general rate for electricity, how much unit you are consuming, meaning thereby what is your lifestyle. Just imagine, this is what the things are there, and based on that the entire mapping is happening for an individual side. Right. So now you get an offer. The banks are offering customized product and services that you carry out this one. Currently, they are mining the data. They have an enormous amount of data, and the more and more customer getting onboarded, and then they check on a geographical scale, on a segment scale, that how the customers are behaving, or this section of customers are behaving. Right. They, in any case, they have your basic demographic and psychographic detail, right? So they have that detail, they have the additional detail, and they can map. Probably it may so happen that after some time, there was a WhatsApp forward since years that probably whenever you will go into one of the shop, they'll say that no sir, you like this very much in a restaurant, right? So that may be possible as well, because you now have a lot of data you already shared without even your information with the banks. Dynamic business strategy for different geographic region based on risk analysis. Now let me give you an example. What's happening is that banks are having this setup into all geographic location. So what happens is, if I collect entire information, let's take an example of an housing loan. Right. Now what happens is that for housing loan, if I collect the information on a region wise, on a variance with this, let's say, CIBIL score, or this this entire this credit history score. Right. Now what's the range for which you are getting a home loan customer, and which is the region where the CIBIL score is, let's say, very less as compared to the other one. So do you want to still venture into or promote that particular product into that region? Right. So what is the acceptable level of risk that the bank would like to have? Right. Based on that also, you can carry out an entire analytics. Right. Then comes again an important one, and banks are using it, and few of the banks have actually worked on to this one, preempting credit weakness. Now this is going to be a very difficult one in normal scenario. But what happens is that I am working on to that, let's say, data analytic part, whereby on a region scale, on a geographic scale, and on an individual scale. See, understand. So individual customer scale, region, and a particular segment on this one, right? What happens is that at the time of taking loan, I had the credit history. After, let's say, 6 months or a 1 year, I am again taking a credit history score. Is there any change in the credit history score, or is there any decline into the credit history score? And if yes, to what extent? Now, if there is this thing is happening on a large scale basis on a particular geographic location, then you need to wake up at that point of time only, before it is getting too late. Right. So I am comparing what was there and what's there, and where the variance is happening. If there is an improvement in credit score, can you offer the enhancement facility to them? That will give you a better return and with the lesser risk. But if the score is getting downside, then it is going to be a challenging task. And you can preempt that. No, there is something issued. So you keep all the employees on toes that no, we are lagging into this one and it is giving a wrong signal. Right. Okay. Frauds through credit weakness. Can we deploy data analytics for this? Yes, there are plenty of red flags that are given and suggested by Reserve Bank of India, and we can very well work onto that one. Yes, there might be an additional data requirement for non-personal loans, Right. So just devise a system whereby you have the data available through that one, and system will be telling you that no, there is this account is showing weakness. Right. And one of the aspect is that what the banks are now doing is that they are tracking your account statement for diversion of fund, transfer to the sister concern or the related parties, and they are put this entire dump of this statement is getting converted and going into the software, where software eliminates that and software says that there is an issue into this one. Right, that's what the things that are getting developed by banks. Various banks are working onto that one. Need not necessary that all the banks would have that one, but that is what is the need of an hour. You need an early signal, not afterwards. See, post-mortem, you don't want a post-mortem. You want person, maybe he may be requiring an oxygen support. You give them an oxygen at that point of time. But after the death of a person, you can't do anything except what went wrong. If you had given oxygen at that point of time or some supportive treatment at that point of time, you would have saved that customer, or at least you have gone out of this entire issue that might come up at a later point of time. Then comes real-time transaction monitoring. Now it is possible because of the data analytics thing. If something which is not going through, just try and carry out a transaction to the foreign website or something through credit card, immediately you get a call. Or if you carry out a transaction of more than some amount, right, then you also get a call immediately. The system will dial the call, right, and once you pick up the phone, the other person from the other side will answer, right, whether you have carried out this transaction, just confirm. If you say no, then the person will come onto the phone, right? So that's because immediately transaction you can stop at that point of time, so that the money cannot, the fraud can also be prevented. Potential loss of business or an opportunity. See, this is a classic one from a banker perspective. I'll always think it this way: when a technology is evolving or a software is evolving, think it from the banker's perspective. Now let's take an example. Nowadays there is a cutthroat competition into housing loan sector, right? Someone will say that I'll give you at 8%, someone will say no, I'll give you at 730, someone will say 750, 725. Even for the balance transfer cases, we'll do this and that and what not, right? Now what happens is that your bank is also aggressive into reduction in rates, right? But if you give it to everyone, then you will be losing an entire chunk over it. So what happens is that you want to retain all your customer, yet you want returns that are steady returns. So what happens is that you identify those customers who are actually trying to go from your bank to the other bank in chasing the interest rate benefit that is available. What happens is, so what will be the first action of the borrower? Borrower will ask for list of documents, authenticated list of documents that the bank is holding, because the other bank would be asking. Fair enough, right? So the moment you have a person or a customer coming in to asking for the list of documents duly signed by the bank where the loan is on, you should have your all the energy concentrated onto that customer, stating that, sir, why do you want it? We can also offer you this one or what not. So that's the potential customer that is going out, right? And that it should happen in that way. Otherwise, what will happen if you give them this one and then they'll simply present this one that whatever are your charges, I am ready, I am going. At that point of time, you cannot do anything. You can do it only when he has not entered into an agreement with the other bank, and you can try with that one. Right. Secondly, what happens is that each bank require at the time of account opening, they require at least 10,000 rupees, 5,000 rupees, 1 lakh rupees, whatever is the account opening check. Right. So if your bank system is having a data analytics whereby it can track the transactions where the funds are going in some other account of the same person, then the system will alert the person or the relationship manager or whosoever is there that this person probably might have started a new relationship. What is the issue with us to that person? Is that the service issue or some other issue that he is facing? Why he is going to some other person? Right? See, these are the benefit or the important part of data analytics. Exception monitoring for offsite monitoring unit and internal audit department. You can have your set of query logic given into the system and the output that is there for offsite monitoring unit and the internal audit, right? And that gives you fantastic result. Now there are artificial intelligence AI driven offering various customized specialized product through AI based system taking into consideration various factors, visually customers transaction pattern, external information, etc. Right. So we have discussed that the entire mapping is happening. Once you have this entire mapping going on, right, with that mapping you can offer a personalized product, which is probably, it may so happen that I am a customer of SBI. I got an this one particular product, but my other friend may not get it. That may be possible as well, right? So gone are the days that we have this product or service offering. If you want to take it, or these are the criteria, right? If you fit into it, you can go for this product. No, now the bank probably may have a customized product for myself, and that may also be possible, right? Focus on banking solution through alternative channels with convenience to the customer, because that is where the entire things are now thriving into. That what is customer's convenience? If customer is convenient, people are preferring more, even paying more, right? You have seen that certain airline companies are charging additionally for first customer and first baggage as well. So people are now making payment for the convenience, devising future strategies based on data patterns, say chatbots, robots for basic customer query and solution. Now, you might have seen the WhatsApp. Through WhatsApp also they are doing banking. So what happens is that the moment you send a message, there is a message that will coming into, right? That for one, see this point you send a message with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And they'll initiate this one, right? So otherwise what will happen? Let's say you want a statement, right? Otherwise you will go to the bank, you'll sit there for 5 minutes, right? Or you will be waiting there, right? And there will be a customer service executive who will be serving you, right? And then at that point of time you again get an account statement. Why do you want human to have this kind of thing? Instead you have a chatbot. The moment you find that no, chatbots are not in a position to offer services, so every time you will say whether your query is solved. If you press no, then there will be a next set of questions, again no, and then they will be transferring to the human who will be coming on to this one. So filtration process will happen, right? Chatbots are also now becoming a more agile one, and they are now also, that is also getting now improved upon. So everything is now happening in that way that you will be discussing only or having your interaction with systems, right? And very less number of time with human, right? So that's what is happening. Replacing the physical infrastructure with virtual one. Currently also we are on virtual one. If I would have gone to the branch or Delhi or somewhere, right, I might have addressed about 50, 100, 500, 1000 chartered accountants. But as Nandaji has said, there are around 3000 members, 2900 or 3000 members are connected, right? That's possible because we went into a virtual mode. Now you can have AI driven back offices, intelligent solutions through OCRs, optical character recognitions, right? So even a lot of software and technology companies are working on to reading the handwritten characters as well. A lot of things are happening on to that one, and numbers and other text part, right? So that can actually solve a lot of problems that the back offices currently are facing. KYC authentication through video and phone capture, right? So now you have a video capture or a phone capture, you just upload it. Even for digital signature you do that, right? So if that is matching and everything is profile is matching, now the system would be storing this one. So next time onwards, I'm not sure how many of you have given an exam, online exam into this, our institute certification courses, wherein the system is recognizing you whether you are a human or you are actually in front of camera or not, and then they carry out a authentication process, right? In case of a banking, if I want to confirm that yes, I am talking to Kuntal Shah only, then what are the vitals, right? So KYC authentication, it may so happen in future date the video that was recorded for KYC updation will be matched with the recent video, or whenever you are trying to connect to the bank, right? And they may then allow you with certain set of additional authentication with certain information that regarding your services or account. Modeling of different investment pattern in different buckets for solution of customers. Now this is a very interesting one. See, AI and this other analytics part and even RPA, robotic part we'll be discussing, is actually working excellently in terms of insurance companies, investment companies, right? Because there are set of instructions, static instructions that will go, but you need to first ascertain which set of instructions you wanted to have, and that's where AI or the this data analytics will focus on to. Assuming that you are in Bangalore, right, and you have a set of young population who have a large a sum of money saved out of the salary income, right, and what is the investment pattern of that person. So in a geographic location or in a particular section, you can offer that product with that particular customer, right. And in the other side, certain set of, let's say in Gujarat, someone is preferring only to the fixed deposit or in an stock market, right. So you can offer that way. Now if let's say in Bihar, someone is more prone to fixed deposits, and if you try and sell them this stock market, they may not accept that part as well. It depends which area where you are functioning and what is the investment pattern. So on various combination, how the things are happening, and that's how the banking is going to be in future. Then comes the branchless banking, right? Neobanks or a branchless bank. You don't need to have a branch set up, right? The payment banks, small payment banks, right? Have you seen branches? No. Even they have hired kirana shops to give the cash, right? So now understand. So my cash counter is not at some X number of location. Let's say a bank may have 1,000 branches, 2,000 branches, but now I can say that my bank is having a cash counter at 50,000 branches, because the kirana shop is also now working as my cash counter, right? So that's what the power of technology, right? That's phenomenal. If you want 1,000 rupees, 2,000 rupees, you can just go there, right? And the kirana shop will get some 5 rupees or 10 rupees just for the cash that is lying in the drawer. Who will not do that? That's the perfect thinking, right? Payment banks in India have identified, that is the one that we discussed, wider acceptability and reach for small value transactions, right? It's phenomenal. Month on month, you are getting figures of UPI and other transactions. It's phenomenal rise, right? And now people are tuned with that one. So I have seen a lot of people who are actually not making payment through cash, right? And they are only onto digital mode majority of the time. And that's what is things are happening, and that is possible only because of technology. Major cost on IT backbone and cost saving in branch office setup, that is where you are getting a big boost into this kind of banking. Then comes as sir has said, Nandaji has said, this fintech and P2P lending. Financial technology companies are posing a great challenge to banking players by bringing fresh solutions to approach to the customer's problem. There is an issue with fintech with respect to they may have a good technology, but whether they have a good financial backup, that is what even Nandaji has said, right? Whether they have good financial backup. So only technology won't work. You need to have a financial backup as well. Right. So the best part is, and a lot of banks are also working into that one, that banks have now started having partnerships with fintech and the other AI and the digital data analytics firms, right, to get the desired either through an investment or through a strategic partnership. Right. So finance business is now driven more by technology than traditional principles. Now, things are in P2P lending we'll discuss, because various apps which are not authorized for P2P are also there, and we have seen a lot of very bad news coming in from certain section of the part of India, wherein people are forced to go to the suicide because they have taken some money from this one, and now they are into a very bad shape of this one. We'll discuss that part into P2P lending as well. Why the fintech companies are flourishing, or how come we could get a lot of good solutions, technologies, new technologies? That is because there is a relaxation of KYC in small ticket transaction. You can use wallet up to a certain kind of a certain amount limit. Then you have prepaid cards, pay later options, two-factor authentication. See, you will find that only an SMS. But actually the SMS or a one-time password thing has changed a lot of things. So you have an ID and password, you access it, and for each transaction you have OTP. All chartered accountants are aware with OTPs, because in any case you do it in income tax, GST and other thing, right? So without OTP your day is not going to end, right? Where every time there will be something or the other, there is a two-factor authorization, right? UPI enabled transaction, third party product like insurance, mutual fund, gold, stock market, FASTag. Now see, the beauty of this is that some payment banks have started offering a solution. Every day I can invest 100 rupees to buy a gold. Now understand this one. Even a gram of gold is very costly. But I am working to get a gold, right, in an SIP mode. Can you imagine? Can you imagine a banker would be providing that kind of thing? But that's possible because of these technology and everything. And a fraction of gram of gold I can get it on this one. So what they'll do is that they'll give me the amount at the gold value at the time of realization. P2P lending, peer-to-peer lending or a social lending or a crowd lending, or allows individual to obtain loans directly from other individual through a common service portal. See, initially there used to be a problem when we might have heard this one, that a lot of corporates are trying and lobbying for getting a banking license. So even on a jokingly, lot of this NBFCs or small shops used to be there in earlier time. They also used to think that I am also a banker because I also work in that way. Now even you can also lend money directly, and you can earn higher rate of interest, and that's how the P2P lending portals are there. I don't advise anything that way, so please don't take it as an advice, this one. I'm just explaining you the concept. So what happens is that you have hundreds of people who are in need of money. Fair enough? Okay. You have 5 to 10 people who have excess money, who want to give money wherein they can get a higher rate of return. Right. And these are the money who are actually in need of money, which they generally don't get it through the banks, or there are a lot of documentations that they need to carry out while taking money from bank, and they are in need of money for small amount of time. So instead of going to bank, they are going to the P2P portal. They are ready to pay about 14%, 15% rate of interest as well, whereby the person who is giving the money, who is getting a 12% return, he is more than happy, because the fixed deposit yields about 5.5 or 6% max, right? So he get a double the return, and this way. Then comes the security part. That's what is happening in the banking side as well. Now, see, this in P2P lending, and this one, Reserve Bank has also come up with certain guidelines, right? So actually this is the system that is bringing more people into this one. So you have now bank outside the bank as well. You have a credit cooperative society, but it is only limited to a set of employee on an organization, whereas this is beyond organization. Right. So that's how the things are happening into P2P side, that is lesser documentation and formalities, becoming popular in class of person which are in need of urgent money, and those who are having money, they are investing into this kind of thing as well. Then comes the blockchain technology. It may change the entire facade of the transaction processing if it is implemented in a proper manner. I'll give you an example, and one of the bank is, I think, working on to. I've just read the news onto that one. For a trade finance transaction or a foreign exchange trade transactions, what happens is that right from the import of goods, you have an entry into this customs system. Right now you have IDMPS system as well available. So right from that you have a documentation registered through that one, and you have given that as a node. Now that all the transaction, all the documentation come as a bunch, right? It comes through the banking side, right? And then when a customer is presenting that I want to make payment against this import that is there, the system will create an entire chain of a transaction and make a payment, and will go up to that level. So even the bank would be in a position to share that this is the invoice against which the payment is going, and even the receiver recipient can also get it through a blockchain database. Now, what is blockchain? That's currently a lot of people are reading the newspaper about bitcoins, dogecoins, right? And people are losing money like anything, right? That's all these virtual currencies are based on blockchain technology. Fair enough. Now, what is blockchain? It's very simple. Don't go by the technical jargons. We don't want to get into that much in this one. It's nothing but you have for each thing, you have this entire ledger is there. Now, let's assume that you are a person who is having an access to the registrar, that registrar of, let's say there is a company, Reliance Industries, right? So you are having an access to the Reliance Industries database, registered database, that is who are the shareholders, who are having the shares, number of shares, and which number of share is allotted to which person, right? So this database is completely open. Whenever there is a new shareholder, wherever there is a new shareholder that is coming into, there will be an added into this one database, right? And will be given a new node, right? Now what happens is that if I transfer 5 shares from myself to someone, Mr. X, then there will be an entry into my database that reduce 5, add 5. So that 5 actually came from Kuntal Shah, and that is also returned into that one. So for each transaction, there is a return information, and this entire distributed ledger is open to all. So you can say this is see completely, that is, it gives you a transparency. So, and that's how they are trying to use this technology into currency mode. Though I don't think the Reserve Bank of India, they are still working on to this one, that whether to allow, not to allow, or how to allow, right? But this is how this entire blockchain technology is working. So what happened if all transactions, documentation, everything under blockchain, then you don't need any independent attestation of a document. Currently, what used to happen that we used to check, let's say for import transaction, we are just taking an example of that one. We used to get it validated from the system, whether the document submitted to us is correct or not, or is this a forged one or not, whether it is incomplete in nature or not. But that is not required if we have complete things going on. It's in nascent stage. It's not at all in full-fledged deployment. I think in Dubai or some other Gulf country, they have started working on to this one. In our case as well, a lot of banks, I think 3 to 4 leading private sector banks have started working on to this one, that how they can devise this one, right? So that can see in near future, we can see this kind of thing. Robotic process. So the things are that currently we might have seen the cars getting manufactured or through robotic processes. Now even the banks would also have robots to process certain set of transactions. It is nothing. RPA is a technology which mimics the human action to perform simple rule-based transaction. See, the entire thing is this way, that why to invest resources for a repetitive simple transactions? Why not system does that, right? In one of the bank, I'll not name the bank, but one of the bank, you might have seen that bank is not having a license to collect tax payments, right? So what they do is they have tied up with the other bank, right? So whenever you go on an online banking to that particular bank, right, they will take the money from you, and then through the robotic process, through the bridge program, it will go to the other bank system. That other bank system will make payment, they'll generate the challan, and that entire challan information will come to this bank. This bank will send you the email that your challan is ready. Right now, if you want to offer something to your customer where you don't have a license, let's say, so humanly it is going to be a very challenging task. How many transactions human will be feeding into that system, and chance of errors are also there, right? So this is how you can have account inquiry, card related query, issuance of statement, assistance with loan documentation, customer onboarding, lot of information that you can carry out through RPA, right? Then comes the important one and the concluding this one, internal control and monitoring security and auditing aspect. As a chartered accountant and auditor, we are always concerned with the internal controls, security and auditing part. Real-time monitoring is that is required. We need to understand this entire system. You get through this systems, you can get desired monitoring this one as well. Then comes very important one in the control side is monitoring of authorization of service offering vis-a-vis approved policy. What will happen? See, there are a lot of frauds that are happening in certain companies wherein the voucher codes or the fake gift codes are getting generated by the authorized users. Right. So what happens is that you get a coupon code of, let's say, 60% off, which is not approved. But the person who is having an access to the system, master or admin, he or she might have added something into the system, and whereby system will be validating it because something is punched into the system. So whenever you are punching, whether that is in a approved one or not, and that is going to be a very important one, we need to understand what is the policy, whether each service offering, that is wherever there is a promotion or anything is there, how many codes are approved, how many codes have been entered into, what was the aspect of the code, what's the offering. See, as an auditor, we need to now understand these aspects because it directly connects to the accounting and the revenue recognition aspect. So we need to understand it, whether there is any control into that or not. Otherwise, entire system will go haywire. A single person can bring the company to the hills, right? Because it might have done something wrong into this one, and you may get it. A lot of things might have shared that because of a bug or a flaw, I got this product for so and so rupees only, or so and so this one or that, right? So that's where we need to review that part. Then comes the security. There are new challenges brought in by phone banking, internet banking. We are all aware with. Current security measures are two-factor authorization, KYC, chip cards, positive pay for checks. But then there are threats as well: phishing, hacking through apps, cloning of cards, access to SMS on smartphones through shoddy apps, duplicate checks under CTS, misuse of contactless card, and there are a lot of threats are there. There are certain things that are happening. Because of convenience, certain processes are getting relaxed or certain systems are getting relaxed. But then you have a threat as well. Application manipulation by authorized user, the one that we discussed just now. Then comes the auditing aspect, understanding the system architecture. First, understand how the system is structured, how the system is working. Understand and review the processes defined, what is the transaction flow, have a walkthrough, have a detailed write-up, that if possible be a user as well and start questioning certain things. Understand that is going to be a very important one, and you need to invest a lot of time into it. Once you have thoroughly checked the system, then you only need to check through the exception. But first and the foremost part is understanding the system, right? Then you need to get the gap analysis carried out. Revenue recognition and accounting aspect, whether that is happening properly or not. It should not happen that since the technocrats have made it, they have not thought about how to account it, right? You also need to check what are the taxation aspect, what is the accounting aspect, how it is going to have end to end, the transaction initiation to the end, and reporting into the financial statement, how it is going to be, right? Testing of system through test data in sandbox environment, whether it's possible, try and do that one, right? So if that is possible, and make a record and store that kind of test data, that will give you a good working paper that yes, you tried and tested from various perspectives. But you need to first design your audit controls that yes, I want to test it from these perspective, whether the system is working fine or not. And then through the database, you can through SQL, you can generate an exceptional review through exception through SQL, right? So structured query language, and you can pose the queries through on a database, and you can get the reports. And we need to now invest more onto this one. As a chartered accountant, we need to now understand the systems, the databases, right? How the database is structured, and which information you can get and which you cannot get, or how you can get it through an other means, right? This is what we need to understand. We may not become a programmer to understand this one, but at least we need to understand that how the program is written, right? The computer software is written, right? Then only we'll be in a position to carry out this one. So that's not only don't always go on to the system architecture side understanding, go on an application side and application development side as well. The brief knowledge, I don't want to say that you become a programmer, you work on to the .NET technology or some other technology, right? Azure platforms or dashboards or anything, but at least you have that kind of thing. And the last point is that only, are we ready and equipped, right? This is what in a simplest form I tried and taken you all through this, what we can expect in banking, but are we ready and equipped? That's the $1,000,000 question. And with that, I'll say thanks a lot, and over to Mrinalji.
Thank you so much, sir. Sir, very wonderfully you discussed the three areas of this core subject. Also about the future of banking system. Sir, frankly speaking, I always wonder how pre-approved loans mails pop up. I hope just like I got answer to my queries, my colleagues would have too got answer to their queries. And I'm sure that all the members viewing this webinar would have definitely enhanced their knowledge through you, sir. Sir, now if you permit, there are some questions. Can we take up them?
Yeah, sir.
Okay, sir. So the very first question is how to consider the various costs incurred for IT security infrastructure, that is to keep the banking through system safe and protected from management accounting perspective, whether it should be considered under the administrative cost pool or operational cost portion.
See, sir, it is. I'll reply it in this way that in my country, how I'll be allocating the defense budget. Right, my defense budget is always whenever the finance minister rises for this one for budget presentation, they'll say that needless to say that we'll provide anything for budget. But yes, it is a good question that in terms of cost aspect, you cannot go and investing lot into this security aspect where you have a return that you need to see to it. So first and the foremost thing is that there are certain regulatory requirements that you need to follow. Right, that is first part. Basic benchmarking is that one. Second one is that if your customer or some other losses that you are expecting, then you need to have that. Third part is the monitoring part, and for that also you need a security. Right. The fourth part is either are you losing out something because you have certain flaw into the system. So that is on an operational part. See, understand this one. I have given you the example of gift code. Right. So you are giving a discount of 60%, whereas the maximum policy is 40%. So what I'll do is I'll give certain set of security parameters. Right. Now, point is that we may not get a bifurcation of this one. In an initial period, you may have it into the system embedded into it, and then you have an enhancement. Right. So the point is that how to bifurcate that, or to what extent we need to go. It is a very difficult one. You need to sit onto the drawing board till what level you want to go. See, because I'll tell you one more thing, and which is very relevant into this one. If I say that I want an additional security, certain foreign banks, I don't want to name any of the banks, right? They have a token system which generates a random number based on time, date, and other my account information. The same logic is there into their central system as well. Right. So what happens is when I log in, they'll ask what is showing into your token. Whether token has generated the number that is in sync with that or not. But that has a cost. Can I afford the cost? Right. So that's how the things are. So my reply would be, though I'll not be in a position to reply exactly what the queries would have asked, but that's what I thought would be that one, that there will be a trade-off as well as there will be a this one, that basic minimum prescriptive would be there. And any new technology will have a development cost and a security cost.
Okay, sir. Sir, another question is, we have Uber without owning any vehicles, Airbnb without owning any of the hotels. And now we may even witness new age banks without having any physical contact point branches. Is it not a threat to the traditional banks? Your comment are waited.
Yes, sir. It is a threat. The only thing is that, see, I'm a person who would think it from a different perspective. See, if something new is coming up, then the bank should actually go for that one. Why you would want to see that I have an opponent? I would always say that, no, I am the one who will be taking into that. So I'll give you an example. Just take an example. Ravi sir had said this, YONO platform. See, do you think that SBI is not having customers? They have plenty. But still they are going on with YONO, and even while auditing, you might have seen lot of loan accounts into your portfolio, branch level portfolio, wherein they'll say that, sir, these loans were sanctioned through YONO platform. Right. So people are even going with that one. As far as this branchless banking, yes, there is a threat. Right. Point is that how I'm taking that challenge up, either through the branch network or I also have that kind of feature available. See, the benefit that I have as a bank is I have ample amount of money. Whereas my peers or those who are new entrant, they don't have that much money. Right. So that's where their challenge is. I have a challenge that probably I might not have a technology. So can I have a partnership with them? Can I buy out them? Or can I develop a technology or can I include that one? Yes, there is a threat. But you have an opportunity. You see it as threat, I see it as opportunity.
Okay, sir. Sir, another question is, even banks are using core banking solution. Each branch auditor is expected to certify capital adequacy statement generated from the system. However, it is usually observed that branch does not have the sufficient audit trail for the figures as relevant to the branch for capital adequacy statement. Neither branch management has the idea how the figures are arrived or required for the said statement. Why it is so under the core banking environment?
Okay, see, I'll give you the perspective from this entire the response to this question in from this perspective. Thing is this, that there are various bifurcations that are happening. See, when you go to the capital adequacy entire structure, right, the computation structure, right, it gives it bifurcates the customer from various perspective. We'll leave around the this amount of loan and the segregation, that is amount system can very well read it. But what about the other parameters, priority sector, other sectors, right? So now that sectorial classification is there, right? When you see the system, that is when you see the audit the particular branch, right, you tend to get certain set of information which may require you to issue MOC or you ask the banks to change this one, which may have an impact on to capital adequacy. That's the first part, right? So what exactly I can say is that otherwise, sir, everything is there in system. CBS is also there, is there. Why you require a branch audit, right? And that's the $1,000,000 question we discuss on each year month of March, right? But the point is this is a valid point that we don't have an audit trail. So I would always say that, see, actually speaking, if you want an audit trail, it is available. Problem is that the banks are not in a position to provide it to the auditor. So problem is with the communication, not with the system. I have seen the audit trail and that's why I'm saying it, right? So how I'm saying is, I have an audit trail right from the capital adequacy percentage computation to the bifurcation to the sub bifurcation and to the account level, right? That this 10,000 crores, how it is made up of, how many accounts are there, I have seen that on my own. But the problem is that we don't get it at the branch line. That's where the issue lies, right? Certain banks have tried and assimilated GLs, but GL also has certain limitation because of the characteristic of a loan change or some changes happen, and that may not match it in that way. Problem, the question is perfectly valid and perfect one. Problem is that this we have an issue with communication. In that scenario, if you find it difficult, then you need to qualify or you need to give your disclaimer at that point of time that you are not provided with certain set of information.
Sir, one last question. What are the
Yes, sir.
security measures? What are the security measures for net banking and hacking?
Okay, net banking. See, first and the foremost thing is that the website that you are using, it should be a secured one. That's the basic one, basic. Otherwise, you cannot have it, right? Then there are two-factor authorization in certain cases, right? That your access should be only on through two-factor authorization. However, there are certain cases that has happened that the issue have happened because not through the hacking of your net banking website but through your smartphone, right? So courier companies, they have changed the numbers into Google, and whenever you search something, that there's a fake number will be coming up, right? And you track a parcel and they'll say that no, you need to give detail and that detail and you need to install this one, and that's how they carry out this one. Hacking is a problem, and it's again a cat and mouse kind of chasing that is happening. This authentication through debit card codes, there are multiple codes. There are various banks have given various additional security feature. So in certain banks there are 12 blocks are there at the back of a card, so you need to punch in any two. So that is where if someone has remembered your number and CVV, then at least they cannot remember this one. That is one of the aspect. Two-factor authorization is there. Whenever you add a new beneficiary, you cannot transfer money immediately. You need to have some time. So they'll be sending the SMS and the email, right? That have you done this one? And they cap the amount to certain lower extent for some 48 72 hours, depending upon the bank to bank. As far as hacking is concerned, banks continuously try and work onto that the main system is not hacked, but yes, there have been instances. So you cannot say that nothing is impossible into the system and technology side. Everything is possible, and even see with the gunpoint, you can take maximum 5 crore, 10 crore, 15 crores, but with a click of a button, you can get thousands of crores as well.
Right, sir. Right, sir. Okay, sir. Thanks a lot for wonderfully answering the questions to the various questions. Now I invite CA Pushpak Singhal ji, Secretary, Bahadurgarh branch of NIRC, for his vote of thanks. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mrinal ji. ICA Pushpak Singhal, Secretary cum Treasurer, Bahadurgarh branch of NIRC of ICI. From the bottom of my heart, convey my vote of thanks to learned speaker CA Kuntal P. Shahaji. I also want to thank S. Ravi, Chairman and Director, Tourism Corporation of India. I also want to thank CA Charanjot Singh Nandaji, Central Council Member from North Region. I also want to convey my sincere thanks to CA Mrinal Garg ji and all the staff for well coordinating this program. I also want to thank all the participants for attending this webinar. Thanks all. Over to you, Mrinal ji.
Thank you so much, Pushpak ji. Now, with the due permission, I think that we should take a leave, and I am sure that we all shall be 100% updated our knowledge, and there is more to think about the new eras of banking that we need to update ourselves, and we should keep ourselves ready for our future goals. So I would like to thank Nanda sir, once again the chairman of the committee, Dr. Surinder Palji, secretary of the committee, and other two young dynamic members, CA Gyanji and CA Amit. Sir, Surinder sir, shall we now take the leave?
Yes, yes.
Okay. A very good evening to all of you once again.